The $30 billion I controlled felt heavier than the marble floors I walked across, and tonight, I was here to watch the sound of crystal crack. 5 years after being fired from my own family's company, I finally walked back into their world, the marble floors, the gold-trimmed banisters, and that scent of pine and perfection that used to define my parents' idea of success. The Grant Mansion in Aspen glittered like a snow globe, flawless from the outside. Freezing within, I told myself I was just here for one evening to keep up appearances. Drop a comment and tell me where you are listening from and what time it is for you. I want to know who is in this room with me. Monaco looks like forgiveness from a distance. Golden light on water. Music slipping through glass. Palm shadows stitched onto the terrace like lace. Inside the villa, the air tastes like citrus oil and chilled silver. My heels click once, then stop. I let the room find me before I bother to find it. They built this place to be seen through. Floor-to-ceiling panes. A ceiling that pretends it is sky. An atrium that swallows voices until only the beautiful ones survive. Investors drift in small orbits, speaking the language of legacy and returns. They touch the art without touching it. They wear confidence like a cologne. I used to think I needed that scent to be real. He is here. Exactly where the lights make him tallest. The man who drew cities on napkins and children on silence. He tips his chin, and the room corrects itself. People call him master. They mean it. Control has a pleasant aftertaste when you are not the one being swallowed. She glides a step behind. All understatement and polished warmth. She is a choreography of approval. When she leans into a conversation, a donor signs. When she changes earrings, the color of the room changes with her. She once told me grace was just discipline that learned to smile. I believed her for too long. My brother works the corners like a concierge of power. A hand on a shoulder. A whisper disguised as a promise. He speaks in headlines he has not earned yet. The ring on his fiancée's finger blinks like an apology no one intends to make. She is live for her following, narrating sophistication as if it needs her to exist. She pans the crowd and slides past me. Frame clean. Narrative intact. In her lens, I am a coat rack. I stand near the glass where the sea rehearses a soft percussion against the rocks. Steady. Indifferent. Warm air slips in from the terrace. It does not melt anything important. The cold is not outside anymore. She catches my eye from the service corridor and gives me the smallest nod. The kind that says, I am not crazy. I am simply early. She has fed this house longer than its owners have loved it. Flour on her knuckles. Salt in her hair. A map of kindness in the lines near her eyes. When she murmurs, welcome home, I let the words land. Then let them go. Home is not a building. It is a temperature. The staff has polished everything until it forgets it was ever touched by a human hand. Silver cold enough to numb a mouth. Crystal thin enough to cut a sentence. The place smells like rosemary and money. A quartet throws velvet onto every conversation. Laughter clips its consonants. Nothing messy survives here, unless someone needs a story. My phone is on silent. It has weight. Not heavy like guilt. Heavy like a key. I keep it in my palm. Vineside. Where the pulse reminds me, the night will do what I brought it here to do. I do not check it. Control is not looking when you want to. Control is choosing not to want. He sees me and offers that half smile that used to be my weather report. Sun if I obey it. Storm, if I did not. Tonight it is partly cloudy. He gestures toward a cluster of patrons and drifts away before I can refuse. This is how he edits people mid-sentence. Mid-gesture. Mid-life. He trims until only the shape he likes remains. She approaches with a kiss near my cheekbone. Perfume like white flowers growing on concrete. Her questions arrive already answered. How is work? Still doing your little sustainability venture. Still believing art can pay its own bills. I say I am well. I say it like an invoice precise. Not needy. She squeezes my hand and scans the room to be sure the moment photographs as maternal. My brother appears at my other side. Eyes as lit as the glass behind him. He has perfected the tone of gentle injury. You should have called. We would have arranged a better seat. He glances at the chart and makes a show of pointing me toward the end of the table where the view is excellent and the microphone is not. I thank him. I mean it. I do not need amplification. Echoes will be enough. His fiancée swings back with a grin and a lens. She tells me her followers adore underdog stories. Then asks if I have any advice for girls who are still figuring it out. I say yes. Stop asking rooms for permission they did not build. She laughs like it is a joke. She will clip it later and call it inspiration. A board member shuffles past me and says a word he thinks I cannot hear. Liquidity. Another word follows him like smoke. Covenants. The sea keeps breathing. The glass keeps pretending to be air. I rest my fingertips on the edge of the table and feel the cold creep into my skin. It steadies me. They toast to tradition. To a tower that does not exist yet. To a future shaped like their signatures. I do not lift my glass. I place it. The sound is small. But it finds him. He looks down the table and holds my eyes, a heartbeat longer than policy allows. There is a tiny wince there. Almost invisible. Not fear. Recognition. He knows I did not come to admire the view. My phone hums once soft. Obedient. I do not move. Somewhere in the villa, a door closes. And the air changes temperature, by a degree. It is not dramatic. It is exact. Warm night pressing against cold glass. Cold eyes, pressing against a warm face. The whole room is a balance that thinks it cannot tip. I breathe. I taste citrus and salt. I count the chandeliers. Not because I need to. Because I like knowing how many things will catch the light when it finally shifts. The sound comes like a secret one, small vibration against my palm. The kind of sound that, 5 years ago, would have made me flinch. Tonight, it's a signal. A hum that tells me everything I've been building has finally caught up with the world that once erased me. Aldrich Private Bank. Nathan Cole. The subject line is, Clinical Year-End Confirmation Transfer Completed. No emotion. Just precision. I don't need to open it. I already know the number. Still, my pulse steadies around it. 60 billion. Not bragging rights leverage. I slip the phone face down beside my glass and glance at the maitre d'. Could you escort the Aldridge consultant to the East Terrace in 10 minutes? I keep my tone polite. Measured. Detached enough to be mistaken for courtesy. He nods and hurries off. Mrs. Devreux appear behind me. Quiet, as ever. Smelling faintly of cloves and warmth. Need anything? Miss Thekla. Yes. I say. The study for a few minutes. Lock the door after I go in. Her eyes flick up. Half question. Half understanding. Of course. The villa hums behind me as I walk. Music. Laughter. And glass. The perfect soundtrack for a night built entirely on illusion. I step into the study. Close the door. And call Nathan. He answers on the first ring. His voice smooth but careful. Ms. Monroe. Merry Christmas. Likewise. I say, watching the reflection of my face in the window. If anyone asks, we're finalizing liquidity for the Monaco Art Fund. A beat of silence. Understood. And Nathan, I add, keep your voice steady when you arrive. No excitement, no emphasis, just business. He exhales. A soft note of admiration, disguised as professionalism. Of course. I hang up. My reflection star is back hairpinned. Face calm. Eyes cold. For the first time in years, I see what he never could. I don't look like his daughter anymore. I look like his lesson. I open the study door and step back into the current of the party. The maitre to catch my eye. Your guest has arrived. Good. Please seat him 2 chairs left of Mr. Tout. Monroe. He hesitates, probably sensing the small mischief in the request, but obeys. I move to the event coordinator next. A small change. I say. During dessert? Dim the lights in the dining room. Leave only the gallery spots on the architectural model. Of course. Miss Monroe. Any particular reason? Ambiance. I answer with a smile. I make another adjustment. My name quietly disappears from the printed guest list signage at the door. A simple omission. Not absence. Just invisibility. I want them to forget I'm here, until they can't ignore it. Across the room, my brother waves a flute of champagne. Laughing with one of my father's investors. Their laughter sounds brittle. Rehearsed. My mother adjusts a place card and leans toward Isabella. Whispering, like she's coaching an actress mid-performance. The show must look effortless. They've always been masters of that. I pause beside the grand staircase. The lights from the sea refract through the glass walls, scattering patterns across the marble floor. I imagine them as blueprints, lines of symmetry, strength, control. Only this time, I'm the architect. It hits me how absurdly calm I feel. Years ago, I'd have been shaking angry, desperate for approval, terrified of misstepping in their house of perfection. But I learned something in those years they never saw. Emotion burns out fast. Systems endure. I take a long breath, feeling the quiet thrum of order underneath the noise. Everything is aligned now. The bank transfer, the seating, the lights. The model they'll unveil after dinner, the tower my father's firm has staked its reputation on. It's a showpiece for their guests. But for me, it's the proof that power isn't always loud. From the terrace, I glimpse Nathan arriving. His expression neutral. He's good at this, professional enough to pass for background, yet present enough to draw attention when I want it. Perfect. I walk back toward the dining hall. The sea reflects off the glass walls like liquid steel. The laughter grows sharper, thinner. The party doesn't know it's already changing shape. Control, I think, isn't dominance. It's choreography. You make small moves. No one notices until the entire scene rearranges itself. By the time I reach my seat, everything is in place. Nathan sits exactly where I wanted. The model gleams in the corner, hidden beneath a silk cloth. The lighting tech nods at me from across the room, ready when I take my seat, my phone resting beside the silverware like a sleeping weapon. I don't need to announce what's coming. I just have to wait for dessert. And when it arrives, the room will see itself through my eyes, reflected in glass, framed in truth. The music fades into something softer. A string quartet weaving background, gold while waiters pour more wine. Every fork, every laugh, every word lands exactly where it's meant to. They think the story tonight is about them. Legacy. The Monroe name. But the real story began 5 winters ago. In a room lined with glass just like this one, except that time I was on the wrong side of it. I can still see my father at the head of that conference table. His voice measured. His expression surgical. Architecture isn't therapy, Thekla. It's business. And you don't understand either. The men beside him nodded, pretending they weren't enjoying the spectacle. I had spent 3 years clawing for a chance to prove I was more than decoration. And in less than 10 minutes, he stripped that from me. He called it a realignment. I called it what it was, exile. I moved out that same night, packed whatever fit into 2 suitcases, and rented a studio above a bakery that smelled like burnt sugar and loneliness. The radiator coughed more than it worked. Every time the oven below kicked on, the ceiling trembled. Still, it was mine. For a while, I worked 12-hour days, designing eco-homes no one could afford. I was invisible, until one afternoon a stranger walked in carrying blueprints for a modular housing prototype. His name was Alex. He talked fast, thought faster, and asked me a question no one else ever had. Why are you building for them when you could build for yourself? That's how Aurora began. 2 laptops, 1 shared desk, and coffee that tasted like rust. We weren't trying to build an empire. We were just tired of asking for permission. Investors laughed us out of rooms. One called me a romantic, with good hair. But the projects kept coming. Small ones first, community art spaces, then sustainable work studios. Each one survived because someone had to. I funded 3 of them myself, emptied every account I had. And slowly, what they mocked started to matter. The grants multiplied. So did the partners. By the 3rd year, Aurora wasn't begging for meetings, it was rejecting them. I look down the table now and think about those architects whose rent I paid. The young designers I mentored. The single mother who built her own studio after we backed her project. They don't know my name built this empire. That's how I wanted it. Quiet impact lasts longer than applause. Still, the past lingers. The invisible chain. The voice in my head that sounds like his. For years, I believed obedience was love. I thought silence meant belonging. Every decision I made, I measured against their expectations. As if disobedience would make me unworthy of family. I built walls out of politeness and called them protection. It took years to understand what that really was. A cage made of compliments. When I finally walked away, it wasn't rebellion. It was survival. And even then, I waited. Because you can't argue with someone who feeds on control. You can only outgrow their need to win. So I learned patience. Silence became my scaffolding. Every blueprint I drew was a brick in my escape. Now, across the table, my father raises his glass. His voice is smooth as marble. To stability, he says, looking straight at me. And to those who understand that ambition without structure is chaos. Polite laughter ripples down the table. My mother adds a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Some of us learn that lesson later than others. Julian chuckles. If they learn it at all. I stir my wine and let their words hang between us. Once, I would have folded under them. Tonight, they only sound small. I glance at the sea through the glass endless. Unbothered. The same patience that built my empire is the same patience keeping me still now. I wasn't trying to beat them. I was building something that didn't need them. And soon, they'll understand exactly what that means. The first sign that the balance is shifting comes in paper, not sound. A waiter rolls out the covered scale model of my father's so-called legacy tower. It glows under the gallery lights. Brass beams catching the candle flicker like trophies. Around the table, the investors lean in, murmuring about innovation, about beauty. They don't know the lender behind that project. Aurora Capital already owns it. I trace the edge of my napkin, pretending I'm just another spectator. The difference between noise and power is documentation. Tonight, I brought both. Every clause, every debt swap, every silent signature is already in motion. The Monroe Group's loans consolidated under a shell company that belongs to me. Options triggered the moment this gala began. Trustees notified. The countdown has started. And no one here can hear it ticking. I think of it as justice, with silk gloves. No shouting. No revenge speeches. Just clean architecture fault lines designed to collapse with elegance. Nathan enters quietly. Coat folded over his arm. The picture of discretion. I nod toward the empty chair beside my father. 2 seats away. He sits. Offers a polite greeting. And becomes invisible. Which is exactly what I need him to be. My father notices him only enough to register another consultant orbiting his gravity. Aldridge, he asks. And Nathan inclines his head. Pleasure. Sire. Thekla. I tell myself. Breathe. This is the moment before the hinge turns. Dessert service begins. The smell of caramel and burnt orange drifts through the air. Somewhere behind me. The lighting technician I briefed adjusts the dials. The dining room dims, just as the silver dome is lifted from the architectural model. The brass rods catch the glow from the gallery spots, sending lines of light racing across the glass walls until the whole villa reflects itself, every person duplicated. Multiplied. Trapped in mirror after mirror. I watch my father's face as he notices the reflection first. Sees himself inside his own monument. He smiles. Thinking it's grandeur. I know better. It's exposure. This is where Module 2 hums beneath the surface. The justice of the sower. I remind myself this isn't destruction. It's reclamation. I'm not salting the earth that raised me. I'm planting something better in it. The fund will spin out apprenticeships, ethical materials, labs, and small studio grants once the paperwork closes. Every dollar redirected toward creation. Not control. I take a sip of water. Not wine. It steadies my mouth when I speak. You did well on the proportions, Father, I say lightly, though the financing label seems to have changed. He glances down at the brass plaque he hadn't read before. Aurora Capital Primary Financier. The words are small, but they detonate. His brow tightens. He laughs once. Brittle. Must be a clerical error. Across the table, Isabella leans closer. Camera raised for her followers. The lens zooms on the plaque. The logo gleaming under the lights. Oh my God. It actually says, she starts. Before my brother elbows her. Too late. The stream has already gone live. A board member whispers. Aurora, that's the Sustainability Fund out of New York. Right. London. Another corrects. They just acquired something big last quarter. My mother's smile trembles. Her eyes darting toward me. Searching for rescue. I offer none. Then a concierge appears at my father's shoulder, with a sealed envelope. Urgent correspondence for Mr. Action. Monroe. He says. My father frowns. Breaks the wax seal. And reads. The color drains from his face. He reads it again. Slower this time. as if the words might rearrange themselves into a lie. Notice of change in property management. Effective January 1st. Aurora Properties Monaco. He looks up. Our eyes meet across the silver and crystal. Ownership isn't a shout. It's a document. I lift my glass of water, not a toast. Just acknowledgement, and take a sip. Around us, the conversations falter. No one knows what to say. The air feels too still. Like the moment before glass breaks. Somewhere outside. The sea keeps moving. Unconcerned. Inside. The villa, his villa. Their shrine now belongs to me. I don't smile. I don't need to. The architecture is speaking for me. It happens so quietly that for a moment, no one registers what they've just heard. Nathan's phone vibrates once against the linen tablecloth. He glances down. His expression perfectly composed. Then lifts his head toward me. Ms. Monroe, he says. Voice level. Professional. Audible to everyone. Your portfolio transfer has been completed. Every conversation D's mid-sentence. Even the string quartet hesitates. My father's fork stops halfway to his mouth. He blinks, as if the air has turned to ice. I keep my eyes on Nathan. Thank you. I reply. Please make a note that the timing was ideal. He nods and sits back. Calm. Unshaken. The room, however, begins to unravel. My father shifts in his chair. His tone sharp. What transfer? I don't look at him. Liquidity management. I say simply. Julian laughs under his breath. Liquidity of what? Exactly. Your imaginary fund. Nathan turns toward him. Still in that precise banker tone. Aurora's consolidated portfolios now exceed 60 billion. The number lands like thunder in a marble hall. A second of stunned silence, and then the sound of glass shattering. Julian's champagne flute slips from his fingers. Fragments scattering across the table. Golden bubbles fizzing out on the linen. No one breathes. Isabella's live stream freezes mid-frame. Her mouth open in a silent O. Someone near the end of the table mutters 60, as if saying it out loud might shrink it. My father finally rises. Chair legs scraping the floor. You expect me to believe this farce? I meet his eyes. You don't have to believe it. It's already wired. He looks around the table, seeking an ally. None of them move. The people who once echoed his opinions now study their silverware. Avoiding his gaze, Eleanor reaches for his arm. Thomas. Sit down. He shakes her off. This is absurd. What have you done? What you taught me? I say softly. Structure. Leverage. Ownership. His voice breaks. We can fix this together. I stand, smoothing the fabric of my dress. No. Father, we can't fix what you never thought was broken. My mother tries to recover. Her voice brittle but disparate. For the family? Thekla, please. We're still your family. I look at her. And for once, there's no anger. Just clarity. Family doesn't require control to feel safe. Nathan rises too. A silent sentinel. If you'll excuse me, he says, collecting his papers. I believe our business here is concluded. I nod to him. Thank you, Nathan, and Merry Christmas. He inclines his head and leaves. The room watches him go, as if the floor itself might vanish next. I turn to the guests. My voice calm, and even, thank you all for coming. I know you expected a celebration of legacy. Consider this instead. A lesson in evolution. No one applauds. They just watch as I place my napkin on the table and walk toward the glass doors. Behind me, my father calls my name. Voice stripped of authority. Thekla. I don't stop. The chandeliers shimmer above him. Bright and useless. Outside, the night air is warm and salted. The sea murmurs below. Steady. Forgiving. I inhale and feel the tightness in my chest loosen. Finally, the next morning, the headlines will say, the Monroe family empire has changed hands. The villa. The firm. The name itself all quietly absorbed into Aurora. I won't correct them. Let them write whatever version helps them sleep. In the days that follow, I keep the staff. No mass firings. No humiliation. Just a single note pinned to the office wall. Design with integrity. Pay people on time. When the first journalist calls for comment, I decline. The work will speak louder than any quote. Within weeks, the Monroe Aurora Fellowship launches scholarships for underrepresented architects, labs for carbon-negative materials, microgrants for apprentices building their first studios. Justice of the sower. My favorite phrase now. You don't burn what hurt you, you plant over it until the roots make something new. And when I finally stand on the villa's terrace again, sea wind in my hair, I record a single message for whoever needs to hear it. If they call your conviction a phase, keep building. Silence isn't surrender, it's scaffolding. When the room won't recognize you, own the building. Real power isn't control. It's the freedom to choose peace and still choose people. I end the recording there. So, if this story found you at the edge of your own silence, share it. Tell the one friend who's building quietly that I see them. And tell me, too, what room will you own next year?